We promised it to you, and now here it is from Paonia, Colorado, and this is a fantastic thing because we always love to catch up with Shawn from Chrysalis. And you wear a couple of hats, Big B's and Chrysalis.
Yep. So I work full time at Big B's. I make all the hard cider, and then I started this little project on the side. So Chrysalis is this is the hobby, and the cider is the job.
Sure. Get ready to learn about it. Of course, Brian Freeman here with us, as well as Jake from Farm Box Food. And we got to thank all of our partners who make this road trip possible as we come at you on this longest day of the year. It's solstice, man.
Woohoo!
Woo! Celebrating with you. So we're going to learn a lot. We've got stuff waiting for us, but welcome to Chrysalis.
Cheers.
All right, let's go on in, guys. So kind of just do the play-by-play. We're going into your tasting room right here in 2 years, right?
Yeah, it's been almost 2 years, but yeah, the first time you guys came to visit, we were pouring concrete and tossing gravel around and whatnot, and here we are today, and things are up and running. And
first of all, happy anniversary. It's coming up on
like 2 weeks, and it'll be 2 years for us.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Interesting that you ask, because when you open a brewery and you try to pick a name, they're all taken. You could type in your last names and brewery, and there's already one in the United States. So I don't know. We thought about it for a long time, and then eventually just the theory of everything that we do goes into oak barrels. So the Chrysalis is our barrel. So just like a butterfly, it's going to come out more beautiful. Our beer goes into the barrel, years go by, and then it comes out more beautiful than it was before.
Transforms into something totally better and different.
Yeah.
Why was that important to you, doing all barrel?
I just,
Does that limit you? I mean, trying to get the...
it's interesting because when I started this project, there was already a brewery in town. They're making IPAs, and they're making reds, and they're making browns, and they make great beer. But I wanted to be completely different, and I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. It's a small town, but I wanted something different. So I wanted to do barrel-aged. I wanted to do sours, mixed cultures, wild fermentations, just really interesting, wild, crazy stuff.
And you coming from a guy, though, you were doing that with apples and pears already, winning awards over for Big B's, and you decided to open your place here.
Yeah. So just for fun,
I love it, and it's turned into something so awesome.
Yeah, and it's really amazing. And
let's have a drink.
So this one, we'll crack that one next, but I just pulled this one actually out of a tank that's still actually aging right now, but I really, really wanted to talk to you guys about this one, and it's the one I talked to you guys about last night. So this one, the Storm Cellar, one of my favorite wineries here in the town, they pressed their Riesling grapes, and it was the last pressing of the season, and on that day, I got all of the skins. I brought them back to here, dumped it into a tank, and then I put like a 1.5 year old sour beer out of oak barrels into this stainless tank with the Riesling grape skins. Now, it's been sitting since last fall on those skins in that stainless tank, and I just pulled off a sample, so we're going to give it a shot right now. And
oh, my gosh.
Before,
though, I can already tell from the nose, how do you become a magician and make that times 10 barrels? I mean, that is just a nose.
Well,
this is the best summer I've smelled.
Greg, get in there.
Right.
Cheers.
Here.
Do a little boom, boom.
Boom, boom. Everyone back.
1, 2.
Nah.
No.
Okay, ready?
No, wait.
Let's get a nice little...
What are you going to drink?
Right. No, touch the damn glass. On the count of 3, pull out 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Ooh.
Well, we've got to stop and
perfect.
Oh, my
Instagrams before.
Gosh.
And truly, this is what we want to share with you. This is so delicious. And as it's complicated, but it's very elegant and precise.
Fantastic.
And it's got like
complexity.
Sour beer flavor. It's got like white wine flavor. They're all kind of blended together, and I think it has like hints of cantaloupe. Like it's like got this melon taste to it.
And then it feels like summertime.
Right. So picture this is ice cold and then carbonated.
Yeah. Straight from the barrel. Let's go walk back.
Sure.
I knew this was going to be a favorite before I even tasted it.
That's fantastic.
All right,
very
so
unique.
as we walk in here, this is something we like to do each and every time because it's a part of your story and a story that's being built off of other stories. But this system right here is iconic. Talk about what you have right now.
So this is we found this brewing system in a gentleman's field in Palisade. So he had bought this from the original owners of Champion Brewing, and I'm sure that some of your viewers would probably remember that. It was in the 90s, down on Larimer, I believe.
Yeah.
And all copper clad on the outside, stainless tanks, all the brew kettles. And we found it with this gentleman. We bought it all, and it had been out of commission for 12 to 15 years, somewhere in there.
Sitting in a big field in the middle of
and
nowhere.
So we brought it back to life, and we've been using that system to create these beers. And it's just another one of those kind of portions of our story that makes it fun. And this tank right next to us here is another one of the tanks that came with that system. And these were serving tanks. So basically it's a giant keg. It was in a walk-in cooler. They filled it with beer, carbonated it, and then that would go right to the taps.
Wow.
So it's a giant serving system. I'm taking this tank and I'm filling it a third of the way up with fruit, then dumping beer out of the barrels on top of that fruit. And the barrel beer is already 6 months to a year and a half, years old, and then it ages another year on that fruit in that tank.
Do you feel like you're outgrowing this system here, or is it running just fine?
I think anybody that makes beer or cider is always going to tell you their space isn't enough, and I could easily use a humongous warehouse, but you make do with what you have, and I can stack the barrels higher, and we can make it happen. And we have some more space coming up that is going to be for barrel storage, so that down the road we're going to be able to have a lot more product available.
Is this pre-sold already? Do you have anything in here available even?
I mean, pretty much everything is for our tasting room. So I only have a few customers that I sell product to. I sell some stuff to go at Zur in Denver, so that's our only front range.
Good Zur.
So, those guys are awesome.
Spot. Yeah.
And they've got a couple of my beers there, a couple of the Big Beast ciders, so we do stuff with those guys. But besides that, I really don't have customers that I'm selling product to. Bin 707 has one bottle, but it's all local and small, and I can't keep up with shipping it somewhere else.
Yeah, you got to feed this tasting room right here, which is fantastic.
Yeah, so eventually the goal is to distribute, but it might be 2, 3, 4 years down the road, and that's fine with me. That growth is fine.
This is craft and boutique. I mean, look at over here. This is your bottling line, right?
Right? Oh, yeah. And those are handcrafted in Colorado. They're made up by Longmont.
So give us an idea of what you have on tap, and if you rotate them, what the stables are. Just give us an idea of the beer that you're producing.
So we rotate a lot of the taps. Mostly the sours are the ones that rotate through, I change them up a lot. Right now I've got a key lime sour on. I've got a cherry black saison. So it's a dark saison aged on cherries. There's a regular sour cherry on. We've got the apricot, which was the first one you guys ever tasted 2 years ago. So that's a staple. People love that one. But I also make a couple of beers that I don't have on tap right now, but I do. The Earl Grey is on tap. So I have an Earl Grey with lavender. So
wow.
And that one is bomb. And then I also make a chamomile and local honey one that people love. And that's a sour beer aged with the chamomile flowers. And that one turned out really well. But our most popular seller isn't going to surprise a lot of people. It's our hoppiest beer, but we don't make any IPAs here, but I'd make a dry hopped barrel aged saison where I take a traditional saison, put it into the barrel 2 months on locally grown Paonia hops.
Wow.
Yeah. And then that comes out, and that one we also have canned it, and we partnered with Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, that organization who they fight for everybody's rights to be able to use the public lands. That's an easy, quick way to. And so, we put that into cans, and they get a quarter from every can.
I saw that. That's
and
awesome.
so it's we love hiking, we love hunting, we love fishing, we love. I'm going to go on the river as soon as we're done with this. So I'm going to go float the river, and that river is public property.
Awesome.
And for us to have access to that and our kids to have access to that in the future is important to us and the other business partners that I have. So that's something that was really important for us to give money to make sure that all of those things stay available for us to use that. You want to go up into the hills, into the BLM land and go, camp, set your camper up there and be up there, but there's a fracking rig,
Yeah.
So that's where, it's important. So, but anyways.
This is why our road trip, I believe, is just so important. It's one thing to have you down in Denver and bring you to our studio kitchen, but it's another thing to be in your backyard, in your digs, with a baggie of your native soil, just showing us around what you do. You're making, just an award-winning cider maker, but making a huge splash in the beer world. And when I have my ear to the ground and I talk to other folks, the only way that I can describe you, Shawn, is a complete genius. The things that you, and truly just the innovative thinker and always forward with what you're trying to do and innovation. Where do you get that from? Where do you get that drive or that wanting to know more and do more? Where does that come from?
I think, I've always been into food. So I always say I'm a food nerd.
Do you think your recipes are food driven?
Absolutely, 100%. And I'll tell you, my drinking style is food driven. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of fell out of love with the IPA craze, because I didn't feel like IPAs paired with food like wine does or like cider does.
Send emails to Shawn. IPA craze. That was a big statement to say.
Yeah.
Craze means it's a fad, and you believe it'll
I mean, I think it's, it's the most popular beer sold.
Sure.
I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it from that standpoint, but what I'm saying is that my personal opinion is I didn't like the way that it paired with food. I thought that the hops blew out your taste buds and you didn't get to taste your meal as much. And so when I started making hard ciders, like that was like something I really loved and how it paired so well with food and worked really well. Then I tasted sour beer and I realized that acid level and how well that goes with like spicy foods and all these other combinations. I mean, you can eat a bowl of ice cream and have a sour beer next to it, and it's awesome.
Well, sours are more like a digestive enzyme, but I want to give you props because, Greg, I don't know if you notice the confidence in Shawn when we've been here for a couple years now.
Yep.
And the first time we came, and I got. In all honesty, you were a little nervous. You were a little shy on the gun.
Right.
The confidence that you exude right now, Shawn, is inspiring.
Well,
I gotta tell you, it is. Right, but also with his flavors and where he's going.
Talk about flavors. This is just evolving each time I take a sip.
Yeah, take a sip and it gets better. Yeah,
it's so good. Show us the barrel that came from.
It was in a tank. It's back there. It's hard to squeeze into. I had to like crawl underneath a barrel to get it out of there. But it looks just like this stainless tank right now. So it was in one of these oak barrels for about, like I said, a year and a half or so. And then when it was ready when the Riesling grapes were ready and pressed, I got those skins, dumped them in a tank like that, and then they've been sitting in there since fall.
Where's the funk bucket? Always have to.
Oh yeah, actually I got several now. I got one back there. There's a little one here. All these back here are ones that I use. And when he asks about my funk bucket, I have mixed cultures going on. That's the stuff that's making the sour beers. And so those buckets right there, every time I finish a Saison and move it into the oak barrels, I dump about a gallon into each barrel with the beer that just went in there. And whatever's living in those are going to create that sour beer. And once
those are coming out of?
Yep, so I take it out of there, and then I'll either dump apple juice or if there's beer wort left over. So I just got to keep sugar. It's like a sourdough starter for bread. Yeah. It's just my beer starter, and I just keep them alive and keep them going.
You've accumulated funk over the years.
Yeah, and so I've collected them from other breweries. Yeah. Like if I drank a sour beer that I liked, I would just dump it into this growler that I had at home, and I kept that thing alive since like 2011. Yeah. And it's still at my house. I still have that one going as well.
The original funk.
The original funk, yeah.
I'd set you loose on doing a lot. You'd crush making kombucha, too. If you just gave yourself a kombucha facility, you'd
probably.
Yeah. Same with spirits.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of distilling spirits. I've dabbled in it a little bit, and eventually would love to do that as well.
What do you think? Cheeses? You think you could make cheeses?
Yeah. Well, funny you say that, because if you would have asked me like 15 years ago what I was doing, I would have told you that I'd be making cheese right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was a cheesemonger at a specialty grocery store in Salt Lake City, and I grew up in Minnesota, but my mom grew up on a dairy farm, so I always kind of had that in the back of my mind. And I love blue cheese, so I don't know if it has something to do with the funky flavors that I really go after, but I love blue cheese. So I always thought that I could open up a blue cheese factory,
Well, and that's why I see you doing so well in this like fermentation, but it's like more of a long, different kind of fermentation with the pears, the fruit on the fruit side.
Yeah.
You just do. You're knocking it out of the park, man.
What industry do you see the most innovation in right now as far as food and beverage?
Hard seltzer? No, I'm just kidding.
Are you kidding?
I'm totally kidding.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's innovation in it, but there. What I really like? Just the fact that last year doesn't really count. It was tough for everybody. But I think when you look at the restaurant scene and you look at the distilling, like all of the craft that's coming out, people are making cheese in small batches. People are making, spirits in small batches, and they're getting it into these restaurants that are carrying this stuff. And that's what I think is really awesome. Yeah. You take that example, like you go to France and you're in some small town in France, and there's 2 guys making baguettes, there's 4 or 5 people making cheese, there's 7 wineries, and it's all in that little town, you know? And
Is the pendulum going back that way? Because it's interesting with your other job, when you put on the Big B's hat, the name of the game is trying to get real consistent and to carry that consistency for scaling and bigger production pieces with that.
right.
That's an interesting thing to take on that thought.
To take on both of those thought processes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I guess I never really thought about it that way, but yeah, there was a time and, you know, like, I mean, I've been making the hard cider for Big B's at almost 11 years now. And looking back, there was a point where we were like, how do we
You talked about that.
how do we get consistent?
Yeah.
How do we do this the same every single time? And it's hard when you get to a certain volume, you might not bring in the same apple every single
yes,
time,
yeah.
you know? And so we just focus on doing our best at keeping it and keeping the practices the same and, you know, repeating that same thing over and over and over. But like here, it's fun because I don't necessarily have to be perfect every
Well, I was
time.
going to ask you that. Do you want Chrysalis to ever be to that point?
I don't know. That's
The question.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
big question. Sure. I mean, like, I would love to have more distribution around the state,
Yeah.
and you know, eventually we'll get there. But at what cost am I going to put into that? So this project is growing organically, and that's what we're really shooting for.
Well,
And,
let's,
yeah,
let's end this as we go over, and I think that what we want everybody to do is when you're coming through town, you want to stop at places like this, and we're trying to make you familiar.
Right.
And you'll want to come in. We'll end this thing at the bar where we'll order a beer like so many of you should do. And I just want to go over and see the menu and what's on tap, and then we'll call it a day. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, happy solstice. Let's go ahead.
Yeah,
Head over
and
there.
Greg, as we're walking over there,
grab a beer out of the
I'll
fridge
touch
here.
to your point, Greg, that you were saying about small versus large. I think that they're, to where Shawn was going, I think that this small batch is really going to be
And
the
they go
future.
well with sour.
But I
too.
think
Yeah, well,
that
that's
there's
what you said,
two
spicy
companies.
and
And there's
sour.
always going to be that larger company
This
that's
one's
going to
creamy.
need the consistent, but then other customers are going to have that small batch.
Did you get the kitty? Oh, God. What's the cat's name?
Elsa Cezanne is her name.
Of course.
She's a survivor.
What you got?
So this is the other one that we talked about
Okay.
last night. So this one is about 350 pounds of Chambershun grapes, which is a red wine grape, and I used the whole grape on this one. So we ran it through the destemmer, which kind of crushes it, but doesn't really juice it. And then we put all that in that same tank, dumped the same beer on it, same exact process as we were talking about before, but with a red wine grape. And so this one has way more juice in it.
Wow.
This one is going to come out at about 10% alcohol because it had all that other sugar that came from the grapes.
And
So
can you utilize it? Can you do a second run with those grapes in another project, or?
they got fed to pigs after that. So
Oh,
wow, look at the color.
I know, that's the first thing that strikes you.
Look at that.
And
Gorgeous.
it's like that amber of like a red, in a sense.
yeah, and so this was a saison that went in there.
Getting like a little cranberry thing going on.
And now, Shawn, this is so different from, you would never bastardize this and mix it with anything like you do, because you play around like that with the ciders.
Yeah, mix
where
it with
you,
other
you
things.
mix it with other things. You'd never want to do that with this, right?
Well, I couldn't say never if someone came in and had a great idea and was like, "Dude, have you tried these together?" I'd be like, "Sounds good to me."
Cheers.
Cheers.
Guys. This is how we love to end it.
Wow.
Whoa.
Beer.
Wow.
So it's like crazy, right?
Uh-huh.
It's like red wine and beer all in one sip.
But you get the wine is in the back of your mouth at the end of it,
There's
and the beer
tannins.
is up front.
Yeah.
For me, I mean that's for me. But
And I'm getting a tongue coating with the sour.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
bubbly,
Something going on.
carbonated.
wow, and such a contrast from
Between those
this.
two, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like this is something I'd want at the almost like for me this is my dessert. To be honest, right, with the big steak. This
Yeah.
would be like the dessert for that steak right there.
Who's doing your artwork?
So Alyssa Edgerly did this one, and then
gorgeous.
basically what I did was I talked to several
That hand
local artists,
grabbing the apples.
and I said, hey, we're just starting up this business, and we don't really have the budget to like kill it on label art and all that kind of stuff. And would you be willing to share a piece of your art with us? We'll put it on the label. We'll put your name on the label. you know? And so when our product gets bought and taken out of the valley,
your name.
your product also goes out of the valley. And there's
Good for you.
amazing artists here in Paonia. So each one of our labels is a different artist right now.
I mean, look at that.
You're in an
Gorgeous.
incredible
You see the
place.
hand?
I've been talking to
The
people
hand
all
grabbing the
day
apples,
about
just great.
the minerals and how this is like was a glacial runoff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think spiritually, you're in one of the best places around, man. With the tones that vibrate here, you're in the right place, Shawn.
People ask me all the time, you know, like, why did I move here? And I mean, I moved here for a job, but also I live here because it's an amazing, magical valley, you know. Yeah, so there's a couple more labels, a couple more of the artists locally.
Oh, and
Devin
is this an
Alves,
award?
And then, yes, I won a Good Food Award.
Look at this. Look at this.
And that's a competition in San Francisco.
Congratulations.
And the one thing that I really like about the Good Food Awards is comparatively to a lot of other competitions, it encompasses a whole bunch of different categories. Everything from charcuterie to cheese to chocolate and coffee. Mm-hmm. But they vet very hard all of the people that enter to make sure that you're doing things sustainably. You're you're not using artificial colors. You know, you grow things organically. You know, all those things. And because we haven't touched on this yet today, but we grew our barley for this project right here in Paonia. So our barley was grown in a field just down the road, and we grew that, and then we had to take it to Fort Collins to have it malted, but brought it back here. But it's locally grown here. It's terroirs coming out of the ground and creating that. So about anywhere from 90 to 95% of the ingredients that we use, they're all from here in Paonia. The hops come from here. The water comes from here. If I'm using wild yeast, it comes from here. The fruit that we're getting for the most part is coming from here. The flowers, any of that other stuff. So,
but I love that you even kept your malting, because I know the small little company.
Yeah, Troubadour.
Yeah, I mean, and that's awesome to be able to keep it so Colorado in everything that you do, Shawn.
Yeah.
All right, let's button it up. That's great. I always like to end with the 30-second, 1 minute of, hey, here's why you should stop by if you're in our neighborhood.
Well, I think that we make a really awesome product, and if you're on the highway and right now it's hot and you need a little break, you know, swing on into Paonia. It's always a great place to visit, and we've got a lot of things to offer in this town, but if you want a beer, Chrysalis is the place to stop.
I think you're right. Beautiful patio, great people. One thing that you missed as far as ingredient was the love that you put into your product, and man, I can tell that you just love what you do, and that's fantastic. You're
Makes
in the
it
right
fun.
spot. That's sure. All right, we're going to button it up again. The longest day of the year. It is solstice. We've got some other stops to make. I think this is our third stop of the day, but we thank you for joining us. Tomorrow morning, we're getting it all packed up and heading down the road. We're going to meet with Chef Will Nolan at Little House in Telluride. It's amazing when you have a watch that'll
tells you what to do,
breathe and stuff like that. I am breathing. I'm talking all in one breath. We're going to be in Telluride and then Durango on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we're going to head through the San Luis Valley. We'll be in Walsenburg, and we're going to get into some ranch country. Lamar, Colorado. All of our tour stops are on themoderneater.com. Check that out. And thank you to all of our partners who make this programming happen for us. We'll be at Big Beast tonight, walking around with Jeff Schwartz on the property there. I don't know, it's my happy place. Paonia in general, Paonia Hotchkiss is my happy place. I'd love for everybody not to come, but then I don't want to be selfish. It's a great place to be. All right, we're going to kick that rock on down the road, and from Chrysalis, I got to thank you, Shawn.
Cheers.
So much. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
And for Jake and Brian Freeman and Jay Parker, I'm Greg Hollenbach. We'll see you at Big B's a little bit later on this solstice, and happy Father's Day.